Welcome, everyone. It's my pleasure to be able to welcome all of you to join us today for our session on Indigenous Spirituality. My name is Lorena Garrell, and I work here at CancerCare Manitoba as a program leader. And it's a real honor to be able to introduce our speaker today, Grandmother Chickadee. I just want to take a quick moment to share a bit about her and her background. So, Grandmother Chickadee is a knowledge keeper from the Sandy Bay First Nation, and she was raised alongside the west side of Lake Manitoba. She is a mother of 3 biological children and 2 adopted sons, a grandmother of 7 children, and an aunt or grandmother to many in the Indigenous communities across Turtle Island. She has worked alongside many grassroots leaders of the Indigenous communities in making safe places for our peoples. Grandmother Chickadee is a proud Anishinaabe who has dedicated her life for the betterment of the life of our land, our water, and our Indigenous communities. And now, Grandmother Chickadee, I would like to invite you to share more on Indigenous spirituality.
Bonjour. I want to offer you a virtual smudge here, a cleansing way of doing things, our medicines. I always believe that we need our medicines in our day-to-day life journey to help us. So I've lit 3 of the medicines: sage, cedar, and sweetgrass together, and I do this as part of my day. And so I figured I'd share that with you today. So I hope that you have your medicines also close by. Bonjour. Also known as Chickadee. Good morning, everyone, and welcome. I'm here to share a little of what I know about Indigenous spirituality. I'm very grateful to be here to share what I've come to know and what has come to help me. And the more that I help myself, I feel that I can help others also in opening those doors and reconnecting to a way of life that's always been there, that's always been intact. We were a very spiritual people. As you notice, when I first shared my name is a Thunder Rain Woman. I'm from the Bear Clan, Benaskimuniqua. And what that is my connection to the world, to the universe. And that's how we Indigenous people have lived since time immemorial. This is our namesake, our name that carries us, that we carry. I believe at one time we're all Indigenous in our homelands, and that we all had names. We were all connected to the land that we were put upon. In my creation story, we were put upon this land, which is called Manitoba. Our Indigenous people were put at certain parts of Turtle Island, the different nations. They all have creation stories. They all have stories that connect them to the land. And so for us, we've had a relationship with creation and a way of knowing and being. And there's a realm that a lot of people don't really understand, and that's that spiritual realm, that spiritual world. And like I said in the beginning, we all had a connection at one time, all Indigenous people of the world. But because of the colonial violence and the things that have happened throughout history, it disturbed that relationship with all creation. It disturbed the natural laws, but they are still there. But for us to know these natural laws and those spiritual laws, um, we know they're still intact, but then a lot of people don't understand that connection to that realm because of being occupied with the traumas of colonization and how it's disconnected us from ourselves, our spiritual self, and those ancestors. And the way I understand it, that we have ancestors and that walk with us, that are there for us, that we honor and hold in reverence, and that we make offerings. We talk to them like they're still here with us. I believe those worlds are parallel, this physical world, but also the world, the spiritual world. And to me, I don't believe there's one specific definition of spirituality. I think there's 8 billion definitions of spirituality, because there's approximately 8 billion people in this world. And why I said that is that because I believe that spirituality is your own connection to the creator, our maker, our higher power, our God, our Allah, all those beings that were created all over the world in order to help us and bring us that spiritual self to another consciousness. And a lot of people don't understand because, like I said, the violence of colonization, we're disconnected to our spiritual self. We're disconnected to the spirits out there. We're disconnected from the natural laws and not knowing them, and also the spiritual laws. Um, those laws are very intricate in who we are. It's part of our DNA. And the more that we heal, the more we understand ourselves and even our spiritual self, we understand. And how is this relevant to cancer? You think, how is spirituality relevant to cancer? Well, a lot of times we're angry at Creator God, um, for being where we are, that we feel it's unfair. And on the other hand, we also pray. We also pray and ask our Maker, our God, our Creator, to help us, in a good way, to help us um, with that sickness that we carry. And there's been many, many stories of miracles that have happened through prayers and believing in that spiritual world and that spiritual self. So for me, sometimes it's on one hand and sometimes on the other hand. And sometimes our people turn to our spiritual leaders and our medicine people during real hard times. But then the other times, they really don't connect to them when they're in a good place. Um, but I believe that prayer needs to be part of our spiritual self on a day-to-day basis. And even in the good times, and also in the bad times, to have gratitude in the morning, like saying, thank you, Creator, for giving us life today. To be able to see this day again. And all the things you put before us. The way that we think good things, that good life, that good medicine. And that good medicine could be a number of things, That medicine could be that water where you give gratitude and say thank you for this water. Because we all need water for life. That's our first medicine. And also being able to open your eyes to be able to see all life to be grateful for that time. And we could also ask people to make prayers for us, to help us. You know, you just ask somebody, and can you pray for me today? And there's days we can't pray, and days we lose faith, but there's still a string of faith there somewhere where you ask for that help and those prayers to help us. That we depend on something greater than ourselves, those spirits, those ancestors, Creator. The Creator is the maker of all of all of, all of life, all of us. You know, I believe we're all indigenous one time, that we had that sacred relationship with Creator, but we've forgotten. We've been disconnected through the violence of colonization. And so sometimes we need to find that place, that spiritual place, and that gratitude, to be able to be awake this morning, to wake up and be grateful for what the Creator may bring for us today. It's a way to set up the day, Unakunegeon. It's, we have songs that we have, in reverence to the way we want to start our day, and putting it forth our prayers so that the day will be laid out for us. So I just wanted to share that little bit about the spirituality part. Like, we all have our own divine connection to creation, but also the divine connection to Creator. So, like I said, 8 billion ways of connecting. That's spirituality for all of us, for all beings. We're all connected. We're all part of the greater um, life change. Like the ecosystem. We're all part of that. We're all interconnected, related. No, and spirituality is not anything new to Indigenous people. I believe we've always been part of that spiritual realm. It's part of our DNA, part of our blood memory. And sometimes it needs people to go back, to where they know a place of being. Um, my father is a churchgoer, and he also goes to sun dances. So those are two different realities, two different realms. But he's a praying person, so he believes in both ways. And for me, I know no other world. My world reality is the medicines, is those ancestors, is Creator. Creator puts me where I need to be. I always have that faith that I'm not um, I'm not there by coincidence, because I believe there's no coincidence. I believe that Creator puts me where I need to be, and this has been part of my journey. Is that um, I'm supposed to be where I'm at, like many of you that are out there, struggling and suffering with um, with the sickness that you carry, and people say, well, that's not fair. I don't believe it's fair that, I have to live with this. But you're not your cancer. You're not you're not cancer. You know, you're an individual. You're a human being with a spirit. You're a mother. You're a father. You're an uncle. You're an auntie. Those roles are very important in who you are, and to live up to those roles and responsibilities. I know that cancer overshadows those things a lot of times. And we have to put faith and prayers in the forefront of who we are. And some people will say, well, how do you know, you know, you've never lived with cancer? Well, I know many of my family and friends have lived with cancer, and I've seen it firsthand. My mother passed away from cancer. And a lot of people, you know, um, don't understand that we know from a family perspective about how cancer affects us also. My mother, she passed away from cancer, but she didn't want the treatments. She wanted to go naturally, she said it. And that's something we respect. And she also made plans when she started to leave us, I guess you could say, start her journey. She already made plans how she wanted to go and what she wanted when she was in that transition from this world to the spirit world. So spirituality is part of our makeup, our genetic makeup of who we are. I remember she said to us that she wanted moccasins. She said, I don't want to wear shoes and click in the heavens, she said to us. And that was before she left us, before her journey. And so we got her moccasins, and she got to see them before she left us. And she made sure that we, that we knew what she wanted before she left us. So sometimes that journey, we need to make that those choices in how we want to leave this world to go to the spiritual world. So I know that, when you think about your creator, your God, your maker, I know that that's your divine connection to that spirituality, and how you know it and how you can connect. I use my medicines, I use my tobacco, I use my offerings, I use my flags, I use my ceremonies, my songs, all those that of who I am as an Anishinaabe, all those that were given to us as a people. And that's my spiritual path. That's my spirituality, is when I light that medicine. And when I sing that song, when I use those medicines out there, for whatever ails me. And those medicines that have been inherent, passed on down from generation to generation. That's part of my spirituality, because we're having a spirit to spirit connection with those medicines. That medicine's giving up of its life to help me in my life. And so I offer that tobacco to that medicine before I take it, because I know it's going to help me. So that's that reciprocity that we have. And knowing, there's greater things than who we are in this world. And not to say that we're little, but we're all connected, and we're all equal, and we're all sacred. And a lot of people don't understand that path of spirituality and how we believe. And we have a part of us that a lot of people don't understand, that medicine wheel within. We too are the medicine, and anything that's put before us that helps us is medicine. So we have a medicine wheel inside of every being, human being that's made up of the mind, the body, the emotions, and the spirit. And how we do that is that we're always mindful of how we think, that we don't stay in the negative way of thinking and being in that those dark thoughts, that we feed our mind good things, good affirmations, put on good songs, read good things, have good conversations. I have conversations with Creator daily. And I remember thinking to myself one day, because I make prayers, I offer prayers for the people out there that are struggling, and the people that are suffering on the streets with addictions, or their health. or their mind or whatever it is. So sometimes I think I said I must be like Mother Teresa, always praying. But that's part of my spiritual path, is making those prayers to help me to help others. But also the people that are put before me, they help me also. And so the way that I do things is that when I think about the way that I think in a negative way, I learn to flip it. Um, I learn to put good thoughts instead of those negative thoughts, the opposite of what I think. And then it's a constant working on. I have a measurement of measuring where I am in my thoughts. Am I at a 5? Am I at a 7? Am I having good thoughts, or am I at a 3 and not having such good thoughts? And so I connect all those, the physical. How is my physical? Am I eating well? Am I resting well? Am I doing some physical activity too much or too little? Um, so those things, we also take a measure of that, how we're looking after our physical self with the foods that we take, with the water that we drink, with the rest, with the, um, am I walking enough? Am I stretching enough? And looking at our physical well being. So there's a measurement there. Am I at a 4? Am I at a 7? Am I looking after myself in a good way? Am I drinking enough water? Because I have a headache. I remember my mother saying, I have a headache. He says, "Oh, drink some water." And I think everybody, all the parents that I come to know, anyways, have always um, used water as part of the cure, the medicine. So even that part of our physical being, our well-being. So where are we at that? And then we have our emotional. Sometimes we hold things out, and sometimes we don't want to burden anybody. Sometimes we think such morbid thoughts, and that we're in a dark place, that we're very emotional, um, and all we can do is cry. And crying is okay. We have seven natural ways of healing, and crying is one of them. But not to forget to live, and not to stay in that dark place, and to be able to talk about your emotions in a way that you're able to let go. It's like throwing up. It's like emotions are like throwing up. Yes, it's like throwing up. When you're emotional, sometimes you do throw up, but you keep talking about them till you can't talk about them anymore. Whatever those emotions are, that is just not a thing of saying, when somebody asks you, "Are you okay?" You can tell them, "No, I'm not okay. Today I'm having a rough day. Today I can't think. Today I can't be around people. Today I can't pray." And it's okay. And you just say, "Can you bear with me? Can you pray for me? Can you help me?" To help your emotions, and your well being. Then there's a spiritual self. That's our foundation. That's who we are. You know, our spirit is very strong. And sometimes the light of our spirit comes through who we are, through our eyes. I always know when people are in a good spiritual place, their eyes glisten. And I also know when they're not in a very good place. Their eyes are very dim, the light in their eyes. And to me, that's a reflection of the spirit. So, what are we doing for our spiritual self? Are we praying? Are we making our offerings? Are we in our prayer circles? Are we going to church? Are we going to the sweat lodge? Are we doing our ceremonies? You know, our offerings. So, how do we take care of that spiritual self well being? I do a measurement. I'm saying I'm probably about a 6, 7 right now, because it's winter, and but I do make those offerings. I do like my medicines. I do offer my prayers through tobacco. So I think I'm in a good 7, 8 range looking after my spiritual self. So this would be a measurement for you all to look at yourself and how you can take care of your well-being of your medicine wheel within. So I just want to share that little bit. And if you connect the dots, like I'm saying that I'm a 4 and I'm at, a 7, then I'm maybe at 8 in my emotions, and then I'm another 8. So I'm pretty well, balanced, but I'm still a little off. So it's a ongoing process of looking after those parts of you, your medicine wheel. But always to remember that that spiritual self is the foundation, and things will fall into place for the other parts of who you are, as long as you're feeding them good things, and not going off balance too much, and helping yourself, but also allowing others to help you in all of those, to reach out, to your minister or to a spiritual caregiver, you know, uh, ask for those prayers or sit with you in prayer, light your medicines, go to your church. All those things, of who we are will help us and bring balance into the way that we think in our physical and in our emotions. So that's a little bit about the medicine wheel that I can share with you. I know there's many other things that I could talk about, around the medicine wheel in our well-being. So a lot of times, you know, um, there's things out there that I believe that has helped me in my walk, in my journey, in my spiritual journey, and the many miracles I've seen and the many teachings I've received. You know, um, I wonder sometimes, you know, why life is the way it is. And then I'm very grateful, you know, for the journey that I've been put on. I'm grateful Creator has taken me to where I've been, to the many, many, many territories, many spiritual people, and the many healings I received from the land and the people of the land. You know, I think how beautiful it is that we have ceremony pretty well for everything. We have offerings that we make respect to our ancestors that came before us, because we wouldn't be here without our ancestors. And I thought, how beautiful is there is that we have these ceremonies in place to honor our life and the lives of the ones that have gone on, but also to ask for the help in bringing back to a space where I know that Indigenous people are starting to reach out for that. They hunger for that knowledge and way of being, because that Western society has done is that they were forced through fear to push aside our ways. But now you see it coming back. A lot of times I see people coming back to our medicines, and when they're ill and in a place of fear or cancer or whatever else illness they may carry, they will go to the traditionalists, our medicine people, and get those medicines to help them. My sister recently beat cancer, and one of the things we did was we got her medicine um, from a spiritual leader, medicine man. We also took it a step further, where we went outside her home and we did a prayer fast for 2 days. And we had other women across Canada helping us pray for her well being. She had one of the rarest cancers and said that it could come back. But we believed in prayer, and our spiritual ways, those medicines and those prayers that we did. And we had one of our relatives come and visit us there. And I knew that, when we say visit, I mean they came from the other side, the spiritual world that we know as Indigenous people. And you may know it as your heavens or whatever else that you may know it as. But he came to visit us from the spiritual world, And to us, it was a sign knowing that they're hearing our prayers, they know what we're doing, and they're going to help us. And I believe our relatives and our loved ones that are on the other side, that spiritual world, which I believe is also parallel to this physical world, they come to help us. My mother passed away years ago, and my nephew's baby was born sick a few years back, and I went to the hospital. And then I went and prayed, um, and I asked my mother to come and help us. And so a week later, my daughter lives in BC, and a week later, my daughter calls me. She said, "I had a dream of Cuckoo. Cuckoo came to visit me." And then I said, "Well, what did she say? Did she say anything?" She said, "Yeah." I asked her, "What are you doing here?" Because my daughter knew in the dream world that my mother has gone on to the spiritual world. And she said, "Well, Chickadee called me." And I thought, "Oh my goodness, I did call her. I called her for help to help us with my nephew's baby." And then I thought, I didn't tell her that it's okay now that she can go back to the spiritual world. So I had to do that, you know. So I know that connection we have to the spirit world. The spirit world is like I said, parallel. That our ancestors, our loved ones, they hear us. They know we're when we're in need. Um, that divine intervention, or people call angels. You know, I call them ancestors. I call them, our loved ones that have gone on before. So for me, I know that spiritual world, and I know it exists with other people throughout the world. One thing I know is that there's a group of people I met in 1996, and there was an accident outside Calgary, and the group was that I was helping was called the Native Youth Movement, and the church there stepped up and helped us. There was an accident, we lost a baby's life, and there was a lot injured in that accident. But there was a church in Calgary that stepped up to help, and I was leery of churches and people, and this lady, I asked her. She was the minister. I said, "Why are you doing this?" Because I know of the horrors and some of the things that happen in residential schools. There was no trust in myself and those churches. And I asked her, "How come you're helping us? Why are you doing this?" She goes, "Well, I thought," she goes, "and I think that what would Jesus do?" She said it. And so that helped me understand, there is people who do believe in what they do in the spirit of love and also their faith. And there was another time that I went to a ceremony. I thought I was going to a shake tent, which is one of our ceremonies. And I ended up going into a Native American church. And in there, I was like scared. And I phoned up my friend, my sister, and she said to me, "Just pray." She said, "Just pray. It's a place of prayer. It's what they believe." And in that ceremony, I found the great respect for all life, and for all ceremonies and all faiths. I found that respect, that all life is sacred and equal. All prayers are sacred and equal. And that's where I found that respect, was in that ceremony that I feared. And to me, we should be all, respecting and looking at everyone's faith and belief and spirituality as sacred and equal. That if it helps them, then more power to them and more healing. So I'm going to leave it at that. And I just want to say miigwech for you all coming here to listen. I hope that's somewhere, somehow, that you'll find that spirituality, that connection to the world. Miigwech.
Miigwech, Grandmother Chickadee. I can't. thank you enough for sharing your knowledge and your life experiences and so many stories about how important spirituality has been for you. And I know, as you were talking about, there can be a lot of pain and suffering with cancer. And very importantly, spirituality and the teachings and learning through Indigenous spirituality are so important and helpful to all of us. And something you said really stood out for me, a reminder to anyone living with cancer that you are not your cancer. It's so true. That's so very true. And our spirituality brings us strength and courage and faith that things will get better. So, Miigwech.